Latex prints very well on canvas. In fact, a lot of the largest canvas producers in the country, printers, use latex printers. Latex is a 6-color printer, so it is not a fine art canvas printer. A fine art canvas printer, sometimes called a giclée process, is going to be a much larger color gamut. In some cases, 12 colors. We have a commercial canvas printer, but even with the 6 colors, the quality is very good. What latex is exceptional about with canvas is we have very good quality at an excellent speed, and because we're using water-based ink and thermal print heads, it is very rare to have nozzle dropouts while it's printing. It can do long runs of consistent color, and also with the new anti-slip that allows us to have better scratch resistance on the inks are much more resilient to scratching than they have been in previous generations. For most canvas printers, commercial canvas printers, they do not need to use a water-based laminate after they've printed. Now, in some cases, if you want real imperviousness, you may need to put a water-based laminate. The good news is we use a water-based ink, and you can use water-based after laminates if you feel it's needed. So at least you're not using a gooey, smelly solvent laminate. The latex will allow the water-based laminate there, and it will give you sort of a reassurance that you have true imperviousness to scratching. But for most people, it's really not needed. We've achieved a level of scratch resistance on canvas that for most end users is acceptable. That is, it meets their expectations for printing, fabrication, stretching, and shipment. You hang it on the wall. Ordinarily, people don't walk up to a canvas and start scratching away at it. What I want to show you is some of the different types of canvas, what they are, what they mean, and some of the virtues of latex on canvas. This is a matte canvas. My homely friend here is a matte-based canvas. Canvases will all have different sort of top coatings. They can be gloss. We traditionally associate them with gloss, matte, luster, semi-gloss. These indicate that the surface has a certain reflectivity and a gloss to it. So this is more of a matte canvas. One nice thing about latex is when you're printing on canvases, the latex takes on the surface of the material. So matte will generally print matte, luster will print luster, semi-gloss, semi-gloss, and gloss will print gloss. It's not uniformly gloss even when you're printing on luster. Now in this case, there are different types of canvas. So this is an Ultraflex True Canvas. This is a giclée gloss. This is a polyester cotton blend. It is what they call a 2-in-1. So they weave it so that when you stretch it, it's going to stay stretched. It is a higher quality, printable canvas, and frequently these are used with automated stretching equipment, which is very unforgiving. They're going to pull in both directions and staple it down. Because latex is such a flexible ink chemistry, it doesn't crack when you do that. The latex will stretch very nicely over the canvas. Also, you have a beautiful color gamut with latex, especially on these rich gloss canvases. You can print on gloss. Here is BF Media, Ultraflex. Tara Fredericks is a very large canvas manufacturer here in the United States. They're right near my hometown outside of Atlanta. And then also here's Aurora. That's a very good canvas also, and that is a longtime partner of ours. We've even been printing on some natural canvases, almost linen type materials. You know, these real raw natural canvases print very well with the latex printer. And then again, BF Inkjet. Almost all canvases will work very well through the latex printer. In most cases, you're going to be looking at about a 12-pass print with about 120% ink. Now, I have also gone a little more than that. I've even gone as high as 150. The thing with canvas is you really want quality. You need enough ink there to have a nice, rich, saturated color. And you can't reduce the ink because then you're going to have a little bit of a washed out print, and canvas usually signals that the customer is looking for a nice, rich, saturated, vibrant print. So I would say canvas would mostly start at, say, 10-pass 110, maybe 12-pass 120% ink is usually where I sit, and then occasionally I'll even go to 12-pass 130%, or in extreme cases, I might even go to a 16-pass or a 12-pass with an interpass delay at 150% density. Those are really preferences. And it also has to do with the surface of the canvas. Some canvases have a beautiful finish on them that allows the ink to be highly receptive, and some are highly textured and irregular, and those can require different ink sets. Some might be much lower, some might be higher. One thing I do want to mention about canvas, particularly with Optimizer. On the printer itself, when you choose canvas as a category, it's actually coated canvas or coated textile and canvas. That is the actual selection we're recommending. And it will allow you to put up to 120% ink. The trouble is, when you choose that selection, the default number for the Optimizer is 12. That is incorrect. It really should probably start at 30. If you use the media locator and you look at canvases, so choose 3 or 4 popular canvases, and then when you open them up, you can see the formula, the sort of baselines that we recommend for those canvases. We tell you the settings. In those settings, you'll see that the vast majority of canvas really starts at 30% Optimizer. In some cases, the most Optimizer I've ever seen on a canvas, I think, is 47% Optimizer. And that was on a very irregular surface matte canvas. Canvas is a textured material. And with that texture, the ink has to land on top of the canvas, and the Optimizer is the thing that pins it or fixes it. If you don't have enough Optimizer on canvas, what happens is the ink sort of drips down into the valleys, and it doesn't stay up on the peaks. Canvas is kind of irregular when you look at it in a loop. That ink needs to stay up on top. Otherwise, you get this little flecking and flaking. You can also have bleeding and coalescence issues. So I strongly recommend, if you're going to build your own canvas, and a lot of people do, myself included, it's a simple 3-step process on a 360. In the first step, make sure you go into the Advanced tab and change that ink from the Optimizer from 12 up to 30. And then later you can always test it and see if you need a little more Optimizer, but 30 is usually a pretty good place to start, at least for canvas. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that. It's one of those little quirks inside there. So that is the canvas settings and the opportunities on canvas for the latex printer. Have at them. We have a very large selection in the media locator. There's an awful lot of certified canvas. They're all very good. And if you have your own canvas, take your time and build the color work. The printer will handle almost all the heavy lifting.